My name is Paola Estrella. I am a multimedia artist from Mexico based in London. My practice expands across painting, experimental film, and performance. And I generally work with other creatives for my projects. At the moment, I am working on the Cenote Ring. I have been developing this project for about 2 years. The culmination of that project was at Stone Nest on the 9th of May, where I presented a collaborative performance with artists from different disciplines. And this included sound of Bon Music, Montañera, who contributed also with a piece of her music and her voice, and then with Pierre and Babage and Costas. The painting aspects of there's the paintings of there is a whole body of work that I developed in parallel of this collaborative performance and the film, which is the series of paintings that are currently exhibited at HS Projects in London, near Victoria Station. These paintings will be exhibited until the 12th of December this year. So it's a 6-month exhibition. And it includes two diptychs, one big triptych, and a 360 painting of the cenotes in Mexico. And I am also developing um, I am also collective in residency at the ICA, Institute of Contemporary Arts in London, with my collective Diasporas Now, which I am a co-founder of. We just presented our first collaborative performance on the 9th of July, and we will be curating and teaching a series of programs throughout the year until April 2026. The Cenote Ring started with I was going to Mexico to thinking about developing a completely different project. And while I was visiting the cenotes, I found out all the history behind the cenotes. I didn't know that this had been formed uh, because of an asteroid that collided there, and that's what destroyed all the dinosaur era. And I found that fascinating because it made me think about external forces impacting um, uh, our existence. And also at the same time, I had the opportunity to talk a lot with people living locally there um, about all the myths around the cenotes. And this are very charged with histories that expand from legends about like the cenotes being protected, and also sacrifices that were made during the time, and also the history where there was the only source of water in the region. So there's like a lot of political control over the waters since the Mayan times, and so that aspect of it. And then connected to what's happening today in the region, where there's a lot of infrastructure being built. So there is this need on one side to um, protect the area and the cenotes, but also the people that live there really want tourism and opportunities. So I found this a very interesting and moving example of a problem that is happening in the world right now, where there's this tension between expansion and conservation. So the project, what it does is brings together the metaphor of the asteroid, the myths and legends around the cenotes, and the current ecological crisis that is happening in the world and locally there. My practice generally expands across different mediums. My first approach to making work was painting. So a lot of the ideas that I have start with a visual image. That is how the whole project started. And then I always am drawn to other creatives for conversations and exchanging. And also, I have found that throughout my journey, when I have these conversations with other artists, it kind of opens new portals of the project or the idea that I'm making. So in this case, the cenote started with filming in the cenotes in Mexico, in the Cenote Ring, but I didn't really knew what the project was about until I started to have conversations with Bond Music, who were very important in the collaboration for the audio and 3D scannings of the project. So that involved bringing uh, objects that I found in the cenotes in Mexico, studying what uh, what makes a cenote from the flora to the fauna, and then the myths and legends around the cenotes, and at the same time in the studio translating this into um, um, a visual world building in the paintings. After I had this like aesthetic that was marking the the world of how we were gonna communicate all of this via performance and video, uh, I invited other artists to interpret this visual language, and that got translated into the costumes and into the music that Montañera, the costumes made by Gabriel Wenger, who that were handmade in wool, replicating the paintings, and also the 3D element of the project, which involves a whole world building in 3D by Costas Sakantis. And that combination of mediums all came from the visual language that was developed in the studio through the paintings. The process of developing the paintings started with visiting the cenotes, studying the cenotes, and then reflecting on these underground bodies of water that are in constant change and in constant flux because of the lime scale that exists in that area. I find really fascinating that the cenotes are they only exist in that part of the world, and they are created because of the conditions on the land that the asteroid caused. And that made me reflect on everything that is around us that we can't perceive at first sight. So I was reading at the moment Carlos Castaneda, and also the phenomenology of perception. So the paintings, what they capture is this constant change in a landscape that I find that we need to, on one hand, celebrate and take care of. But instead of translating this in a more like realistic way, what I tried to do was focus on the layers of color and study the light that form those landscapes. So thinking about the space between fixed objects rather than the objects themselves, and yeah, interpreting this through um, um, layers of color in the paintings. I believe, and part of my intention with this project is, instead of presenting a position, what I try to do with my performances and with the message that I want to share is open spaces for reflection. Uh, I believe we are in a crucial moment in which we have to really change the way we interact with other one ecosystems, nature, and other species. And in a way, the Cenote Ring is my way of sharing this concern and believing that we as humans can use technology in a way uh, in which this relationship can change, instead of extracting, developing new ways of coexisting. And that also is an opportunity, I think, for us to reflect on who benefits from the current power structures and what we consider valuable, um, and do we consider valuable what we cannot profit off anymore. And I think that by reflecting on this, the cenotes are a good example of this tension and also this opportunity in which we can have as humans to change this relationship with our environment.